We are back. It is fight season. It's me, Jesse Rowe, with Inside Fighting, joined by Adam Fishkin. Adam, how are you? Thank you for haven't seen you in a while. Good to have you back,
dude. It's been a minute. I haven't done one of these in a while. Happy to be here. Happy to see you again. You kind of fucked off to Europe for a little bit, so
yeah.
Happy to see you back in the office.
Yeah, this is green screen. I'm actually still in. I'm still in central France. No, I did. I took a little European vacation. Last episode, I had Austin Trout on. He's fighting, I believe, this weekend. BKFC, the BKFC welterweight champion. He's fighting. Is it this weekend? I gotta figure this out. I think it is this weekend. But yeah, so that was the last episode. Very cool. Go check it out if you haven't seen it. But yeah, it's good to be back, and it's good to be back to American food. Man, I've had too much like bread, wine, coffee. I'm just happy to like be back to like a normal American diet.
Normal.
Yeah.
But cheeseburgers and French fries. No, fucking see.
I know. I did get back into California just in time for UFC 307, and I literally I landed at the airport at like 5 p.m. I'm going through customs, so I started watching the prelims on my phone while I'm sitting in customs at the airport. Pretty funny. But
Yeah.
So do we have a delay right now?
No, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I did get a chance to watch it, and I thought it was a pretty solid card all around. You know, there was some questionable judging on the card for sure, which we might get into here a little bit. But you know, I think there were like two highlights from the night. Obviously, one of them is who we're going to talk about most is Alex Pereira. I thought Joaquin Buckley might have had his a nice little moment. I didn't put him in the notes, so I guess I'll just throw him in there really quick. Buckley knocking out Wonder Boy, I thought was kind of, he got performance bonus of the night. I thought was a great coming out moment, and I just was curious what you thought of that.
Yeah. You know what? I actually got a ton of hate for picking Buckley on TikTok. People are like, "Oh, that's such an MMA casual opinion," whatever. I was like, "Fuck you guys." He got the win. So I actually responded to a couple of those comments. But no, I think it was a great fight. I didn't see him win performance of the night, but that was my fight of the night for sure. I think he performed well. I think Wonder Boy looked decent at times, but when Buckley got going, it's exactly what we thought was going to happen. You know, he kind of put on that forward pressure and just took it all the way. But yeah, I think it's exciting for him. I know he called out Kamaru Usman, which is a great call out. I think that's the perfect matchup stylistically. I know that Kamaru is kind of on the train where he believes he deserves a title fight. I think that's kind of rough. Maybe the UFC owes him one. If I was Kamaru Usman, I actually wouldn't want the title shot next because he's been in rough form. I would want a Joaquin Buckley fight to kind of get my morale back up and then go on a streak for the title fight, you know, but so be it. But no, the division's looking great.
Well, it's sort of like the Benoit Saint Denis, Dustin Poirier thing. Like if you're a guy like Kamaru, like maybe if you can go out and beat a guy like Buckley, like you might actually get a title shot right away because then you're beating the hot young prospect and everything, or the next top contender. No, I thought it was a great fight. I thought that to defend the people who thought Wonder Boy was going to win, Wonder Boy did look good. I think he was winning on scorecards before getting knocked out in that fight. So
I think it was even going into the third round. I could be wrong.
Was it? Okay, I thought I had it. I thought somebody had him winning. Maybe I'm wrong, but either way, it was close. Yeah, definitely close fight. But we're beating around the bush here. That obviously the top story is just the freight train that just keeps burning through the UFC, and Alex Pereira beating Khalil Rountree, knocking him out in the fourth round. Just an unbelievable fight. I mean, probably one of the better title fights we've seen in a while. Rountree really did a great job. I think he dropped Pereira once. He got him with a head kick in another round. Just an awesome performance by Rountree. Really tough guy. He hung in there as long as he could, but Alex Pereira is like Thanos. He's inevitable, and he took it to him. And remaining number 2 pound for pound overall, he did not jump up, but yeah, I don't know. This guy is just unbelievable, Adam. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I feel like ad nauseum I've repeated myself, but he might end up being like the combat sports GOAT when it's all said and done.
You know what? I have some thoughts here, but before I get into my thoughts, I think we should play a little special message from our friends at DraftKings. Hey,
yeah, thank you.
Let's do it.
We'll be back to the video in just a second, but first, the NFL season is in full swing, and Inside Fighting has partnered up with our friends over at DraftKings, an official partner of the NFL, to bring you all an amazing offer, where right now, new DraftKings customers who sign up using promo code Inside Fighting can bet $5, receive $200 in bonus bets instantly. And if sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry about it. Just go play DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports. Get in on the action there. Again, new customers who sign up using promo code Inside Fighting can bet $5 and receive $200 in bonus bets instantly.
Okay. Now,
anyways,
yeah,
sports are back. DraftKings is giving us some money. I think it's exciting. I think NFL, NHL, NBA, baseball playoffs, UFC, whatever the fuck you want to bet on, bonus bets are there for you to take advantage of.
And you can use the bonus bets on like betting on like the Alex Pereira knockout. So it's basically free money. So even if you're betting on something that like the odds are, you're not getting great value in return. It's like well, I shouldn't say free money, but it's free bets. You're basically you don't have to worry about the odds in that case. So
yeah, exactly. You use them for your gimmies or for your 17 leg parlays. Both work. But no, I said it before the fight, and I'm sticking to my word. I think Khalil Rountree was the toughest opponent for Alex Pereira since Israel Adesanya. I think he proved it. I think he won the first 2 rounds. He kind of slowed down in the third and then really slowed down in the fourth, which is when he got knocked out. I think Alex Pereira is on his way to being one of the GOATs in the UFC. I'm really excited to see kind of what's happening for him in the future fights. But an interesting stat I saw was that in 2024, he has the same amount of title defenses as Khabib Nurmagomedov had all time. So interesting stat there. I think he's inching his way above Khabib right away, maybe 1 fight away, probably on equal level right now. So he's not ahead yet, but 1 more fight will do it for him. And then I think he's probably 2 or 3 wins away from being in conversations with John Jones potentially for like the actual GOAT of the sport. I think what will do it for him is if he wins the heavyweight title, which is possible down the road because he's talked about moving up. But yeah, I'm on the Alex Pereira hype train. He deserves a brand deal with Zins and any other company who wants to come to him. But Shama, baby, let's go.
He apparently started his own company. I think his own.
I do think he's got his own nicotine pouches.
Yeah. No, to your point about Khabib, do I think that Alex Pereira has passed Khabib? I do, just because he's already won a championship in another division. He beat his longtime rival from like a previous sport, goes up, moves up, goes into another division. He's won every fight in that division. And he's not just winning these fights, Adam. He's like knocking dudes out in every single fight. So how you do it matters. Now, Khabib was submitting guys. So if you place a premium on one over the other, I'm not going to argue with you. You're finishing the fight. But what Pereira is doing is actually kind of unprecedented, especially if he moves up to heavyweight. And, you know, obviously that's the first question he's going to get from Joe Rogan at the end of the fight is, you know, what do you want to do next? Do you want to move up to heavyweight? He made a post the other day, basically showing that photo of him and Tom Aspinall. And he said that this is like the greatest moment from one of my fights. This is my favorite moment from any of my fights, previous title fights or whatever. And then Tom Aspinall shared it. So that's creating buzz. We spoke, James Lynch did an interview for us. He spoke to Curtis Blades, and Curtis Blades said that as a heavyweight, he's totally fine with that happening, with him going up and fighting for the heavyweight title, so long as he beats Magomed Ankalaev. And I do think that Curtis Blades is correct, because Alex Pereira has beaten everybody now in his division. He's cleared it out except for one guy. It's not necessarily his fault, but that one guy is Magomed Ankalaev. And that is the one guy that might pose the most problems to a guy like Pereira, simply because he can grapple. But the thing is, if you actually look at Ankalaev, he's not necessarily like a submission artist. He's not a wrestler. He's a striker who has Dagestani wrestling in his arsenal, which makes him so dangerous. So do you agree? Do you think that has to be the fight, that they have to make that fight now? So long as Ankalaev beats Alexander Rakic at UFC 308, then that means they make that fight. And then if Pereira wins, he moves up to heavyweight.
Yes, I think Pereira should defend his title one more time at light heavyweight. And I think it's against the winner of Ankalaev and Rakic. I think if Rakic wins, he deserves a title shot. If Ankalaev wins, give him the title shot. I do think that the ground game is a little bit overstated for Ankalaev, like you said. He's got that Dagestani wrestling in his back pocket. He doesn't really use it. We haven't seen him use it. But we've also, we haven't seen Pereira use his ground game. But he's been training with Glover Teixeira for the past year and a half, whatever it's been, maybe even 2 years. So he's got some decent ground game in his pocket as well, potentially. Again, we just haven't seen it, so we have no clue. I think it's tough. I don't go against, you know the rule, EV, OV last names. We don't go against them, but gotta keep on the Pereira hype train. But yeah, I think he needs one more title defense at light heavyweight, and then he can go up for the title shot at the heavyweight division. And I think it lines up perfectly, because I think what's going to happen is I think John Jones beats Stipe. I'm leaning towards John Jones retiring. I don't see him. I just don't think he wants a Tom Aspinall fight. I don't think it excites him. I think if anything, he'd want to fight Alex Pereira, but I don't think the UFC will allow that unless there's a title unification fight first. I don't think these like two heavyweight belts to continue just because John Jones wants to fight certain people. But yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah, and I'm not ruling out the idea that Pereira could still move up to heavyweight even if he were to lose to Ankalaev. I'm not ruling that out. I think that it's possible that if John Jones were to beat Stipe Miocic and then retire, you could see a situation where Aspinall is made the undisputed champion just by default, and then he would fight, let's say, Cyril Gane, or the winner of Volkov versus Cyril Gane. And then that would be the heavyweight title fight. Because I do think the UFC wants to make Cyril Gane versus Tom Aspinall, because that's an awesome fight. That's a really, really good fight. But I don't see Pereira fighting Cyril Gane if Gane were to beat Aspinall. I think that they would want to make Pereira versus Aspinall. I think that would be the fight to take out of all.
Knocking guys out.
Unless John Jones were to stay and then beat Tom Aspinall. That's the only, and then maybe they would do John Jones Pereira. I just don't think John Jones is going to stay around for 2 more fights for that to happen. So I think that it's sort of like Pereira versus Aspinall or bust, and then if Aspinall loses, Pereira would maybe consider going back down to fight Dricus du Plessis if du Plessis beats Sean Strickland. Those are the 3 options on the table here for Pereira. But I do think he has to get through Magomed Ankalaev, or he has to at least fight him. Win or lose, you got to fight him at some point. So that's
I'm gonna add a 4th option to the table, because it would kind of be
boxing. Celebrity boxing.
No boxing. Boxing, I don't see that for a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that the same way that Pereira moved from middleweight to lightweight, or to light heavyweight, is the same way he could potentially be moving from light heavyweight to heavyweight there. So what happened was he beat Izzy. He was the champion, lost to Izzy, moved up. But when he moved up, he didn't go for a title fight right away. He had a fight, and then he got a title shot, right? And I think it'd be the same thing. I think if he beats Ankalaev, aka defends the light heavyweight belt one more time, he will get an immediate title shot at heavyweight if that's what he wanted and if the opportunity presented itself.
Yeah.
But if he loses another title defense, I think he will still move up to heavyweight. I think he will fight a fight that's not a title fight, and then he would go for another title opportunity. So that's kind of the 4th scenario I'm seeing.
Yeah, I agree with that. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Either way, just what he's done is so unbelievable. One stat I forgot to leave out is he actually broke the record for most successful title defenses in the quickest amount of time. He broke Ronda Rousey's record of 3 successful title defenses in 175 days or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I know that Rousey did it in 180 something, and then Pereira did it in 170 something. So he broke that record. and he's sort of saving the UFC here because this is the third time where he stepped up on short notice to fulfill a void that the UFC desperately needed, which is what makes this so impressive. He did it for UFC 300 with Jamal Hill because they really needed a good title fight for that card. He did it for UFC 303 when Conor McGregor, did Conor McGregor things and backed out of that fight. And then he did it for UFC 307 to save this card, which supposedly he had a fever. He was sick. And so you could hear him coughing on his stool during in between the rounds. And he did all of this at altitude and saved the UFC because the main event would have been Julianna Pena versus Raquel Pennington. So just keep that in mind when just considering how much this dude is doing for the UFC right now. So, but
speaking of that fight, real quick,
fucking
highway robbery.
Oh yeah,
Pennington deserved to win that.
You want to cut ahead to that, and then we can go back to the other stuff. Let's just do this really quick.
Yeah. What was the other stuff? I thought we covered.
Well, no, sorry. The Artem Vakhitov I wanted to talk about, but let's jump to let's do this because I do want to talk about this.
Yeah, let's do it. Pennington got robbed. I think she won rounds 1, 4, and 5. I thought it was pretty obvious. I think the judging was horrendous. I think a lot of people believe that Aldo beat Bautista more than Pennington beating Pena. I don't think so. I think Aldo lost, unfortunately. It was a boring decision loss. But he lost nonetheless. It's just the way the scoring system works.
Yeah, he lost on technicalities. It is what it is. It's just how it works.
Is what it is. But I just don't see how Pennington lost. I think I saw the stats. I think Pena outstruck her in the first round, but I think Pennington did a lot more significant damage. I remember I haven't rewatched the fight, but I remember watching it live being like, I saw Pennington being a clear round 1 winner. But tough judging. It was I was 5 for 6 for UFC 307, which is brutal, considering I would have been 6 for 6 if Pennington. Yeah. So anyways, pretty brutal judging, but what can you do? It's something that we've seen a lot recently, I feel like. It sucks when judging is the headline of a pay.
Right. Well, also when you want to factor in damage too, it's a damaged based sport, right? And Pennington dropped Pena in that fight. Way more damage was inflicted by Pennington on Pena than Pena on Pennington. I can tap you a bunch of times. That doesn't mean that I'm hurting you. You know what I mean? But because I touched you more times, that means I'm getting more points. So it's a little bit weird. Damage does need to matter. Getting dropped, I felt was to me, the visual of that just carries so much weight when I'm going into judging the fight. I understand maybe it doesn't mean that she won more rounds that way, but it does carry some weight when it comes to scoring a later round that's very close. If it's a 50-50 round, it might carry some weight for me where I'm like, okay, you know what? I think Pennington did more. She just inflicted more damage. But so regardless of that, now we're in this situation with women's bantamweight, which is just kind of a nightmare right now. Julianna Pena is champion once again. And then Amanda Nunes posts on her Instagram that she basically wants back in, that she's thinking about jumping back into the fray. And she tagged Dana White in her post. She says basically that she's, call me Dana White. I'm ready to come back. Julianna Pena, in her post-fight speech, they did a split screen of her and Kayla Harrison, and who had just won earlier in the night. And instead of calling out Kayla Harrison, Julianna Pena called out Amanda Nunes.
Yeah.
So do you think it's more likely that the UFC would do Nunes versus Pena trilogy? If Nunes does come back, would they do it now for the Pena trilogy, or would they do it only if Kayla Harrison beats Julianna Pena?
Yeah. I think if Nunes comes back, they're going to do Nunes versus Pena just out of respect to Nunes. But I think they're going to put a time crunch on it. I think they're going to say, hey, Pena, you got to fight by X date if you want to fight Nunes. If you're fighting after that date, you're going to be fighting Kayla Harrison. I think it's a shame for Kayla Harrison, but I think it's hard to go. I think it's really hard to root for her to have the title fight if Nunes comes back, considering she's only got like 2 fights in. Now she's a title shot. I don't think it's too far-fetched to say, hey, you know what, slow down a little bit. We'll let you fight Raquel Pennington, for example. And if you beat her, then you go for the title shot, But yeah, I think it's just gonna be a timing thing. If timing makes sense, they'll do Nunes. If timing doesn't make sense, they'll probably stick to the Harrison script.
Yeah. Another thing about why they would do it that way is simply because I know that this weight cut is absolutely killing Kayla Harrison, and she, there's people who think that the reason why she wasn't able to finish Ketlin Vieira is because Ketlin Vieira. Am I saying that? Yeah, is because she's getting gassed by this weight cut, and it was at altitude. So she was fighting at 145 in the PFL, and now she's fighting at 135, and you can see it when she's making these weight cuts. So rather than doing 2 weight cuts to get to the Nunes fight, they might just do Nunes versus Pena, and then hope Nunes beats Pena, and then you can do Harrison versus Nunes, because that's a fight that UFC fans and MMA fans have wanted for a long time. While Harrison was dominating in the PFL, was what would happen if Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunes fight. Yeah. So that is, believe me when I say, that is the fight UFC wants to make. They want to get sure. They want to get Julianna Pena out of there, but they do want to make that Nunes fight because it's good trash talk. They have history. It sells ish. You know what I mean? Like because Nunes comes back, it will sell a little bit. So you can put it comfortably as like a co-main event on a pay-per-view.
It's arguably the only women's fight that they can put as the main event on maybe not a pay-per-view, but they can put as a main event as well if they wanted to. It could be a weak pay-per-view, but they could do it as a main event.
Well, they did Nunes versus Aldana as a pay-per-view main event, so I could see them doing it. They would definitely do it for Pena. But I think deep down they're just like, they want to get to that Harrison Nunes fight. If Amanda is serious about this.
So I should clarify. I meant Harrison Nunes would be a main event on a
not,
for sure. Not
okay. Well, what I'm saying is that if Nunes Aldana is a pay-per-view, then Nunes Pena is as well, but it's not a good one.
It's a co-main event for sure. Yeah. But Harrison Nunes, that's a main event. I think
you would need to stack that card.
To see that.
You would need to stack that card. But so we'll see. I do think we're going to see Amanda Nunes fight again. So I'm excited about it, but it's a win-win right now because women's bantamweight needs this so desperately. Terrible shape it was in, no matter who won the fight last night, because it wasn't a good fight. The other night, it was not a good fight. But sorry, I know I'm going to circle back to this. We're running a little long, so we'll just end it here. To get back to Pereira, Artem Vakhitov, who beat Alex Pereira. He's the last guy to ever beat Alex Pereira in kickboxing. He just earned his UFC contract last night on Dana White's Contender Series. He got the knockout win. Said that he's coming for Alex Pereira. Says that he wants to fight Pereira. Like, dude, you're probably a few fights away here, But considering how fast they streamlined Pereira to fight Izzy, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that if Pereira beats Ankalaev, this is a fight the UFC wants to make. So Pereira actually vouched for him, by the way, told Dana White, you should sign this guy. He deserves it. He was there at the Apex.
Yeah.
Just awesome. Like, I love that about Alex Pereira. The fact that he just was in a war with Khalil Rountree. The next day, he's training his sister for her karate combat debut. And then that night, he's at the Apex. Like watching Dana White Contender Series, trying to bring one of his old rivals into the UFC. I just love that. Yeah, I think that's so fucking awesome.
Dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think even if they streamlined Artem, it's probably like if you look at Alex Pereira's streamline, I think it still took 2 years for him to get the shot. 2 years from now, Alex is potentially a triple division champion.
Yeah.
And if not, he's already fought probably 4 more times since then. He's going to be 39 years old. I don't think he's going to have any interest. He's probably like, if everything keeps going the way it's been going for Alex Pereira, he's going to retire at 39 as the GOAT of MMA and just leave it at that. I think Artem won't excite him, but whatever. It's a cool story. Like get another guy, get people excited about Artem. Hopefully he does well. And even if he doesn't fight Alex Pereira, he will always have like the last guy who beat Alex Pereira. So it will always be an exciting fight, I think.
And it's not the same thing as like the Izzy storyline, because Izzy was 0-2 against Pereira in kickboxing, and Izzy was so dominant in MMA, nobody had heard of Pereira, so that was like that storyline just kind of
they're trying to redo it, and it's just not the same juice behind it.
Yeah, it was naturally built in. The only way I could see it happening realistically is like if Pereira loses that heavyweight fight, or it just doesn't happen somehow. And then they get like 3 fights for Artem in over the next year where like he just gets 3 straight knockouts and ends up like, let's say he ends up like knocking out like Izzy, for example. Like what if they do Vakhitov versus Izzy, or they do Vakhitov versus, you know, like a Strickland, and then he knocks him out. Then I think that not Strickland. This is light heavyweight. I'm sorry, not Izzy. He fights like Blachowicz. You know, he knocks out Blachowicz or something like that. Then I could see it happening. But you know, that's like he's far away. Either way, cool story. Just happy to see him vouching for an old rival, especially the last guy to beat him too in kickboxing. You know. That's cool stuff.
No, I agree. No, it'll be interesting to see. The most exciting contender I am from like Dana White's Contender series, the most excited fighter the fighter I'm most excited for that got signed from Dana White's Contender series is Vallejos, who I think fought 2 weeks ago. And yeah, he looks like a dog. So I'm excited to watch him.
Dana loved him.
Yeah.
I'm most excited for Torres Finney, but for selfish reasons, because he's like a foot shorter than everybody at middleweight, but he's a foot wider.
Than everyone as well.
Strangest body type.
I'm pumped for Torres Finney to get his or not title shot, but to get his chance in the UFC after 3 tries in the Contender series. Dude's worked, grinded for it. Good for him. I agree.
Yep.
He's the most like warming story, I'd say.
Yeah, exactly. He's got a lot to overcome, but he did it. So I'm happy for him. But anyways, we will see what happens. Quick shout out to Khalil Rountree we'll end it here. Would you say his stock rose in defeat, like more than most guys who lose? Like his stock is rising even in defeat.
Yeah, I don't know if the new rankings came out, but I felt like he should jump up the rankings even though he lost. Like that's how I felt after the fight. So
he almost beat Pereira. Like he genuinely almost
beat him. So no, he deserves all the praise in the world. He deserves a top 5 title shot. He deserves like a Steve Erceg type of treatment, you know, where Erceg was number 9, Rountree was number 8, but they both went in for the title shot. They lost, still gained some fans. Erceg got a top 5 contender to fight. I think Rountree deserves the exact same treatment moving forward.
Yeah, and Jamal Hill was yawning after the fight, and
Jamal Hill's such a bum, dude. Like, and I hate to talk about fighters like that because, like, I don't know them personally, and I'm sure he's genuinely not a bum. But like, such a bum-like reaction. It was not a boring fight. It was
the most exciting fight ever.
It was arguably the most exciting fight of that night.
Yeah,
it was one of the more exciting title defenses. It was Rountree gave a 10 times better performance in that title fight than Jamal Hill gave. So it's like Hill, it feels like Hill thinks that by like keeping himself in the picture, he's going to get another title shot. Like Hill needs to beat someone before he can keep talking.
Hill is bitter because he was supposed to fight Rountree, and then Rountree had to pull out because of his positive PED or his positive drug test that happened. But like the Hill was going to pull out of that fight anyway because he tore his MCL or whatever it was.
Yeah, so whatever it was.
Yeah, but I do think the next fight the UFC makes, I do think it's going to be Rountree versus Hill. So we will see that fight take place, and that fight makes a lot of sense to me. So
I
Jamal Hill, you're going to have your opportunity to prove how boring that fight really was. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I don't want to call Hill a bum, but like you just got to get another win. You can't be talking so much shit on a losing streak, you know?
Yeah.
That's literally all it comes down to. So pick up another win, go from there. And earn another shot against Pereira or whoever the champion is at the time.
Agreed. Either way, Adam, thank you so much. Thank you for joining me. We've got the Apex card this weekend. We've got 308 the weekend after that. So we're hot in the streets. So keep following us, and appreciate you, man. Thank you for your time.
Hell yeah, brother. Appreciate it. We'll talk soon. Cheers, guys.
See ya.
Peace.
Bye.